Allah, Father of the universe, Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my God, and my salvation by night and by day. Through his holy prophet, Noble Ali. So, rising to my highest height again, giving perfect praise to Allah, extending honors to all the true and divine prophets, Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, Confucius, and the last prophet in these days and times, the honorable prophet Noble Ali. And extend further honors to Marcus Mosiah Garvey, to the Moorish Divine and National Movement, to the Moorish Holy Temple of Science of the World, National Grand Sheikh Jelani Bey, Grand Sheikh Hakeem, Islam. You know what though? Yeah, I did want to go up to the Hebrew degree, but all right, so we'll start with Islam was like who this one? I don't know who that is. But who did the Prophet Noble Ali say that we descend from? Can anybody tell me? From the Bible.
The Moabites.
Moabites, that's one.
The Hittites, Canaanites.
Yeah. So the Hittites, Canaanites, Amorites, Moabites, and then he also said in relation to Jesus that he himself was of the true blood of the ancient Canaanites and Moabites and the inhabitants of Africa. So those three groups. We got the Canaanites. Well, we got the ancient Canaanites, right, and Moabites and the inhabitants of Africa. And when you understand that the Bible, especially the Old Testament, is really talking about the Arabia, it makes sense because the same people that was on one side of the Red Sea and Arabia was on the other side of the Red Sea in Africa. And in order to understand this connection, you really got to understand the bloodline, particularly through Noah and Abraham. All right, because when you're dealing with the Canaanites, when you're dealing with the Canaanites, you're dealing with you're dealing more with the line with Noah, right? Because this is where you get the Canaanites, right? The Canaanites come from the line of Noah through Ham, his son Ham, who had Canaan. Right, that's where you get the Jebusites, the Girgashites, the Hivites, the Amorites, the Zemarites. You get all these different, the Jebusites. You get all these different groups. These were the people that inhabited the land of Canaan before Abraham got there. Right, we dealing with the Promised Land, and when you understand too that this land is dealing with Arabia, which again, how do we know? How do we know that when we're talking about the land of Canaan that we're dealing with Arabia? Somebody tell me, how do we know that when we're talking about the land of Canaan, we're dealing with Arabia? As far as the doctrine is concerned, I'm talking about where did Noble Drew Ali give us that degree?
I want to say chapter 47, and dealing with Arabia being Mecca.
Yeah, yes and no, because he dealing with Mecca, but not in chapter 47.
Only other one I can think of is chapter 45, the divine origin of the Asiatic nations.
Mm, he did mention the holy city of
Let's
Mecca
see,
in chapter
Mecca.
45, but he wasn't talking necessarily about in relation to the Holy Land of Canaan. I mean, like specifically in relation to the Holy Land of Canaan, where is the Prophet Noble Drew Ali give us that degree?
Um, Beginning has to be well. It would have to be know thyself and our Father God, page 3 of the Holy Quran. That would be my next guess.
Mm-mm. Nope.
Islam.
So, Islam. Thank you, though, more. Trying to get the grand shooter. Probably got bad signal. So somebody give me 101 key 52 to 54.
Islam. At what place on earth was the physical part of man formed? In the Garden of Eden. Where is the Garden of Eden? In the land of Canaan, in the city of Mecca.
Mm,
54. What is the modern name for the Garden of Eden? Mecca.
right. So the Garden of Eden, the Garden of Eden is in the land of Canaan in the holy city of Mecca. Therefore, the holy city of Mecca is in Arabia. This is the land of Canaan, where the Garden of Eden is. And you gotta understand that because they try to convince us, they'll convince us that um the land of Canaan is in the Levant, right? But again, the Prophet Noble Drew Ali give us this degree. And again, I highly recommend that y'all study Dr. Dana Reynolds Marnishi, right? Dr. Dana Reynolds Marnishi, her book is called The African and Arabian Origins of the Hebrew Bible. There's another book called um what's it called? His name is Salibi. The Bible is from Arabia, something like that. And they're making these connections how these all these tribal names from the Bible, especially in the Arabic, can be found in the Yemen, in Arabia. Again, which is what the Prophet Noble Drew Ali told us back in the 1920s. Even she said that that's one of the things that really interests her is the fact that our leader, our founder, was teaching us this before it was common knowledge. Right? She didn't even know this before she started studying, like 10 years ago. She didn't, she said if somebody would have told her that the Bible took place in Arabia, she would have laughed at them type thing. So this is very important more. It's like, when you understand, because on surface level, to say the things that the prophet said seem kind of outlandish and crazy to the, you know, uneducated mind. But to those that are studied scholars, real scholars that are really studied, and those that are really in the know, here and abroad, when they see you coming, you know, their antennas already up. When you start speaking, imitating the prophet in word and deed, they're gonna know it's really real. The key is for you to really understand that it's really real. Because you got a lot of Moors that walk around with a fez, turbaned up, tassel swinging, you know, the whole nine, but can't stand on Moorish science. And Moorish science is not just some, colloquial term that just should be thrown around any old kind of way. Like, nah, Moorish science is the science itself, but it's the science of the Bible, being able to trace yourself back to the human family and say, I'm here. Like, this is who I am. This is who we are. We part of this whole thing. That's the science. Moors can't do that properly. You know, the prophet said we were ancient Moabites, not that we are ancient Moabites. So that Moabite degree is one thing, but it's not everything. You know what I'm saying? So the land of Canaan is in Arabia. Now, let me see if I can pull this up. Let me share my screen. Try this one more time for the national. Oh, there you go. There you go.
All right. What's going on, man? What you got going on?
Not much, little bit of this, a little bit of that. No, yeah, so we about to go through like a little bit of the Canaanite genealogy, where Canaan really was, all like this stuff. So the place
Hejaz,
where Mhm.
Hejaz is a popular Shriners Temple. You know that, right?
It's a popular what?
Shriners Temple, European. Hejaz.
Shriners Temple?
Mm-hmm. Very popular down south. Hejaz.
I know why. I know exactly why. So the land of Canaan is represented as the Hejaz, right? And it says map of Hejaz showing the cities of Mecca, Medina, Jeddah, and the rest, right? The Saudi region. So this area, you see the area highlighted in the green. Well, really, the whole green and red. So the Hejaz is basically the western coast of Arabia, and you got to remember the Canaanites, who were Hamites, they were coastal people. They were known for like the fishing. They um, excavated rocks. They was the miners. So now when they talk about troglodyte Ethiopia and troglodytes and all that, we gotta dispel the myth that these are talking about European cave people. Because to be honest, we lived in caves. We built, especially the caves at Petra. If you ever, hold on, let me see if I can pull it up. So Petra, I'm still sharing. Y'all still see my screen or no?
Nah, I'm sorry, we never saw it.
Okay, hold up.
Actually, we did. I'm sorry, it was just a little bit of it. I just looked down. There we go.
All right, cool. So Petra was created by the Nabateans. This is some of the stuff that was done in Petra. So these are rock carved. This is carved in a mountain. Look at this. Now, Europeans did not do this. I'm sorry. So the Nabateans was known as Arabs, just like Canaanites are Arabs. And, everybody in the Bible is an Arab. It all came out of Arabia. So we just the true pure Arabs, and we could get into some of the descriptions, the um, Arabic medieval descriptions of Arabs. and what they look like, they described as black, jet black, dark skin, like black as soot, crow black. Like, and these is people that's darker than all of us on this call, right? So, um, what I was talking about before, oh, the Hijaz. So again, the Hijaz is the land of Canaan. Um, there's another group down in Yemen, like a little further from the Hijaz. Their name is the Kananu. There's actually called the Wadi Kananu, which is like a river, and then they have the plain of Kananu, which is just the land of Canaan. These are places that's nameless to this day, and it's still inhabited by the same people, dark-skinned people. Kananu or Kanani is another word for Canaan, Canaanite. So these people still live there to this day. And the root word of Canaanite is Cain. As a matter of fact, in the Bible, prior to the flood, don't you know that there was a people named Canaan? Islam? Canaan, the Canaanites from that we trace back through Ham is a second generation of Canaanites. If somebody give me Genesis 5:9. Genesis 5:9. And then I'm gonna show you something else about the land of Canaan in the beginning of the Bible too. This kind of blew my mind when I figured it when I found this out. I was like, whoa. Because this land called Hijaz has another name too.
Islam, I got a sheet.
Thank you.
Genesis 5:9. When Enosh had lived 90 years, he became the father of Canaan. And after he became the father of Canaan, they got it spelled Kenan. So Canaan.
Kenan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Canaan.
And mine is spelled Cainan.
Mm. Enosh lived 815 years and had other sons and daughters. Altogether, Enosh lived 905 years and then he died.
Right. All right. And Enosh was the son of Seth, who was the third son of Adam and Eve. So he was named Canaan after his great grand uncle, Cain. And these again was people that were um lived along the coast and stuff like that. Was miners, you know, dealt with metals, metallurgy, was fishermen, stuff like that. Then you had the line of Shem, which were more like the pastoralists, like they were sheep, they was the herders. This is why when it come to Jesus and the Israelites, a lot of their stuff deal with shepherd stuff, being shepherds, because they were the sheep, they was the shepherds. You know what I'm saying? The Canaanites, this is why their God didn't want them to follow the God of the Canaanites, because the God of the Canaanites was a God that was more of for people designed to live along the coast and live a life that was, you know, uh, like that. So it's not about races of people. It's about societies of cultures of people. Right? The Hamathites was different from the Shemites, right? Or the Hamdan was different from the Shimran or the Shamron, because they lived two different type of lifestyles, but they was the same people. It was brothers, right? Cousins, and all that, right? So I want to get into something else, but that's for the Masonic degree in Genesis. So now, real quick, I'm gonna show y'all this right here. So another part of the Hijaz is called the Tahama. Man. Because this got to do with, I don't want to spoil it though. Oh, okay, it's called, it's spelled differently. It's spelled T-I-M-A-A-H. Wow, Tahama. So now, so the Hijaz was also called the Tahama, right? This is the Tahama, is the coast of Western Arabia that borders the Red Sea. And you gotta understand, so the Red Sea divides now. The Red Sea divides Arabia from Africa. So the people on the left side or in Africa across from the Red Sea, they the same people as the other people on the other side, really. Because look, if you look at Yemen where it says Sana'a, where it connect with the coast of, that's I think Eritrea or Ethiopia, it's right there. That's Abyssinia is right there. You go more north, Egypt is right there. And of course, Egypt or Mizraim in the Bible is not talking about that Egypt that you see on the screen right there. The Mizraim in the Bible is from the Yemen, is from Arabia. It's just as time went on, these names got applied to these places outside of where the Bible really took place, the land of Canaan. The New Testament took place up here where it's say Jordan and Jerusalem and Israel and all that. That's really where like the New Testament. So again, this is called the Tihama, right? Remember that because that's the land of Canaan, right? Now, what's the Tahama? Let's look at the etymology. Look at this. Tihamet is the Proto-Semitic language's term for sea. Tiamat or Tahom in masculine form was the ancient Mesopotamian god of the sea and of chaos. Look, the word appears in the Hebrew Bible as Tahom, Genesis 1:2, meaning primordial ocean or abyss. So Moors, we from the Tahama, we come from the primordial ocean in the abyss. From the beginning of the Bible. This is the clay that was, this is the Tahama was where, again, this is where Adam was formed. Islam, more give me Genesis 1, Genesis chapter 1, verse 1 and 2. I mean, excuse me. Yeah, verse 1 and 2.
Verse 1 and 2
Mm-hmm.
or chapter 1 and 2?
Chapter 1, verse 1 and 2.
Okay. All right. It's in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. Now the earth was formless and empty. Darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters.
So where it says face of the deep, where it says, and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. That's the Tahama. That's the Hejaz. That's the land of Canaan. Islam.
Islamism.
I might name my next child Tahama. Ooh, they see that coming. They're gonna be like, oh no, who are you? So that's a degree on the origins of the Canaanites. That's not even really what I want to get into. So now, so we all familiar with who the Canaanites are. Um, so now, yeah. So we really y'all kind of familiar with all these people. I'm trying to find what Moabites at. Um, there's so much to be honest, y'all. So all right. So again, the holy city of Mecca is located in the Hejaz region of Arabia, west coast of Arabia, and includes Mecca, Medina, Yathrib, which is Jethro in the Bible. And the word Hejaz means to separate, right? It separates the Najd, Najd, which is in Central Arabia, from the Tahama, the far western coast, derived from Tiamat or Tahom, ancient Mesopotamian god for sea, and appears in Genesis. Um, so also the Midianites also occupied the Hejaz as well. So if y'all remember, the Midianites, can anybody tell me who was Midian?
Jethro.
Yeah, Jethro was a Midianite. I'm about to type in Jethro. Oh no, I know I was typing in Josephus. Josephus. Okay. So yeah, so can somebody all right, so yeah, Jethro was a Midianite. Can you tell me who Midian descended from? Who was Midian's ancestors? So share my story. Man. All right, so let's take a look at. I suggest too, if you really want to get on your studies, you don't got to buy his book, but you could probably find it online as well. Josephus, right? Josephus, Antiquities of the Jews, and uh, which one is it? Which one is it? concerning the flood and after. And this deals with the Genesis as well. So it says, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth, but when the earth did not come into sight, but was covered with thick darkness, and a wind moved upon its surface, God commanded that there should be light. So when it's saying that thick darkness, that's the Tahama. So I think it's chapter 4. You know, it might be. Oh, I think it's. I know it's 15, 14. It might be 14, 15. Okay, yeah, it's 15. So it says how the nation of the troglodytes were derived from Abraham and Keturah. So troglodyte or troglodytis, we're not talking about this right here. Oh, this right here. So don't have that. Look, see, you say, look, see, you say, see also, right? Look what we got. Afri or Afur, we about to get to him. They say the Blemmies, look, Midian, Hejaz, talking about the Tammud, the Horites. Horites were Canaanites. They already know what time we on. We about to tie all that together right now. So, just so we kind of know, Troglodyte, Ethiopia. Look, Ethiopian priests living in troglodyte Rome in rock-hewn churches, custom, Lalibela, Ethiopia. So, see these brothers, right? These brothers been in them caves, been there since before Christ. Um, you see how even here in Lalibela, they got the joints hewn inside the ground. Imagine excavating that much rock and then what's left, carving that. So again, we talking about this place being inhabited by these Midianite people, right? So again, this is Josephus, right? It says Abraham after his wife after he married Keturah, by whom 6 sons were born to him, men of courage and of sagacious minds, Zambran and Jazar and Medan and Midian or Median and Josabak and Sus. Sus was a place in Morocco as well. It says, now the sons of Sus were Sabbathan and Dedan. Dedan is also another name for Titan. So the god Titan is of the Greeks or the Romans, whichever one it is. That's who the Dan is, right? So it says, okay, the sons of the Dan were Latusim and Assur and Luom. The sons of Midian were Ephas and Ophrin and Enoch and Ibidis and Eldas. Now, Ophrin is often spelled as Aphor or Afar. It'll show up a little bit further down. Right now, remember, Ophrin or Afar, that's the son of Midian. It says, now for all these sons and grandsons, Abraham, so again, these are children of Abraham too. And you got to understand, like, well, you could say like the Bible and the Israelites, the Bible is the tradition of the Israelites mostly because it was written by them. And of course, they're going to say that they're the chosen people. But if this is what we base in history on, we tie into this family as well. I mean, and we could tie into the Israelites tribe of Judah side directly. But we also have, like the Prophet Noble Drali said in chapter 46 about Jesus, that he was of the true blood of the ancient Canaanites, Moabites, and the inhabitants of Africa. So these are these Midianite people, these are the inhabitants of Africa, or the children of Midian are the inhabitants of Africa. Because remember, so I'm gonna read on because Abraham, so it says Abraham contrived to settle them in colonies. So they're not from troglodyte Ethiopia, from the troglodyte area, right? They was born in the land of Canaan, but through contract or whatever, Abraham was able to secure his land, right, and settle them in colonies. It says, and they took possession of troglodytes, so they possessed this area that was pretty much already there. It says, in the country of Arabia the Happy, and Josephus, he writing from the standpoint that the Bible took place in the Levant. So he's saying that they went from the Levant down into Arabia and then down into that other side of the Red Sea, Africa. But it didn't happen that way. They was already in Arabia. They didn't have to have take over, possess the country of Arabia the Happy. They was already there. It says, as far as it reaches to the Red Sea, it says, it is related of this Ophrin. Remember, Ophrin is the son of Midian, that he made war against Libya. Right now, Libya is considered to be Foot in the Bible, or Put, which is Ham's other son. Right? And it's spelled P-U-T or P-H-U-T. Right? This is Genesis 10, verse 6. The sons of Ham, Cush, Mizraim, and Put in Canaan. They say Put is supposed to be Libya. Now, when I say Libya, I'm not saying like the actual country of Libya right now. This probably was like a small tribal group that moved into that area pre-Abraham and was already settled there. Right? They probably had, they may have even been in that area prior to the Canaanites. But it was there prior to the Canaanites getting chased out by Joshua, for sure. So it says, and he made war against Libya and took it. And remember, during the time of Herodotus, the entire continent of Africa above the Nile that was dredged all the way to the west was called Libya. And in ancient times, the inhabitants of that area were called Berbers or Garamantes or Gaetulians. Right? These became the Masmudas, the Zanata Berbers. They became the Sanhaja Berbers, the Kutama Berbers, the Harawa Berbers. These were the Berbers because there was two waves of Berbers that came through. There was Berbers that had already was there, and then there was another wave that came, which was those Canaanites that was chased out of the land of Canaan by Joshua. And then there was another, and then Moors came over after that, the different captivities under Babylon, Assyrian, every time the land got invaded, we was pushed out further. So it says, and he took it, and that his grandchildren, when they inhabited it, called it from his name Africa. So Africa comes from this Ophrin or Afar. It says, and indeed Alexander Polyester gives his attestation to what I hear say, who speaks thus. Cleodemus, the prophet, who was also called Malchus. Hold up, we gotta look this up right quick. Because Malchus is a servant of the Jewish priest Cephas, who participated in the arrest of Jesus. So this is prior to Jesus, though. So this is talking about a different Malchus. Because remember, I think who was Melkert? There was a deity called Melkert, or Melkart. I forget if that was a Moabite. It was Cleodemus. Let's see real quick. Cleodemus Malchus. Jewish writer of whom only a few lines, he connects the inhabitants of Syria and North Africa with Abraham by identifying them as descendants of three sons whom Abraham by Keturah, Apharan or Ophrin, the town of Aphra, Assyrian, the Assyrians, and Lefran, Africa, or Iafran. His work appears cited with Alexander Polyester, referenced by Josephus. That's what we read in. Josephus was cited by Eusebius. And now who was, let's see this word real quick. Malcart. Oh, Malcart. Was the tutelary god of the Phoenician city-state Tyre. Because you got to understand, just like in Arabic, the Hebrew with names, a lot of the times, like the surname and stuff like that, or the given names, related to who this person, either like their complexion, what they look like. So some people call it like Abyad, Aswad, Aswan, Abida, right? It's either meaning like, they dark skin, or, sometimes they either described as like lighter. Then also some of these names relate back to either gods or geographical locations. Most of the names were ancient gods before all this stuff started getting written down. So a lot of the names that come out of the Bible are really ancient Canaanite names from Canaanite deities. So it says, so look, it's a Malkert. He may have been central to the founding myths of various Phoenician colonies throughout the Mediterranean, as well as a source of several myths concerning the exploits of Hercules. Now, Hercules or Heraclius or Harith he was actually a Canaanite. When you go to one, I got a degree on that too. Um, so let's get back real quick. So Malkurt or Malchus, and they also say like I think the anything like when stuff derived from the word Mal or Mar, so Marcus, Malchus, Malcolm, Marcellus, Marcius, Maurice, you know, those are all Moorish kind of surnames or names that would describe a people that's dark or dealt with the sea. You know, when you look at old maps, you'll see Mar as the word for sea. Mar, when you look at the etymology of the word Moor, you know, part of it is Mahuraim for Phoenician, which means Westerner, but the root is that MR. And you could substitute the vowels O, R, U, A, U, E, U. So like when you go in different languages, especially like the European languages, Latin, Greek, French, German, the word more, it has that root MR, but the vowels be different, interchangeable. So you'll see a OU, you know, E at the end. You won't see an E at the end. Sometimes you'll see, you know, OO, AU, UA, you know. So it says Malchus, who wrote a history of the Jews in agreement with the history of Moses, their legislator, relates that there were many sons born to Abraham by Keturah. Nay, he names three of them: Aphor, which is Ophran, Serene, and Japhran. It says that from Serene was the land of Assyria denominated. Right, so it's like Syria, Turkey, um, that area. But it's probably dealing with a land in Canaan, somewhere in Arabia. Um, it says, in that from the other two, Aphor and Japhran, the country of Africa took its name because these men were auxiliaries to Hercules when he fought against Libya in Antiochus, and that Hercules married Aphra or Aphor, Ophran's daughter, and of her he begat a son, Diodorus, and that Sophon was his son, from whom the barbarous people called Sophratians were denominated. Right? So these Sophratians, oh look, Dana Marnici right here. Or the Sophratians. See if we can find them real quick. But she talks about how, look at this. So look, this a one for the word Saracen. It says, she said, however, a millennia earlier, when Amanias Marcellinus, so he was probably a Moor or of Moorish descent. He was, because his name was Marcellinus. Like he in that time, millennium earlier, I don't know what millennium she's talking about. But look, it says, let's start from the top. I say, during the Middle Ages, the term Saracen stood for any nomadic or Bedouin clan of the Middle East, including Kurds and Syrians. Right, so Kurds and Syrians during that time was your they was like Central Asian people, so they may have had the term applied to them too, but primarily because they may have been a little more darker complexion, and they was Islamic, but for the most part, Kurds, Syrians, Turks, they was all of heavy like Eurasian, Central Asian descent. They was mostly the slaves during that time. It says, however, a millennia earlier, so she's saying that the term was applied to some of these lighter complected people, but a millennium earlier, meaning 1,000 years, right? I guess if that's 1,000 years, right? It says When Amanius Marcellinus wrote of the Nubian origins of the Saracens, the term signified only the Bedouin of Arabian stock. Among them were the historical descendants of the Tamudi or Tamudinoe Akites, equestrians. So, anybody know who Tamudi is or who Tamud is?
What was the question sheet?
Anybody know who Tamud? Because again, she mentions right here that among them were the historical descendants of the Tamudi.
Islam. The Talmudi, aren't they Ethiopians? Cushites?
Nah. So the Talmud, you can find a Talmud in the Quran. Islam. The Talmud were ancient people in the Quran, mentioned in the Quran. I'm trying to get the verse. So is chapter 7, verse 73 through 79. And the Talmud said that it says that they were sent Salih, one of their own brethren. He said, "O my people, worship Allah, ye have no other God but him." So he was a prophet. And they say that it says the recently excavated rock city of Petra, we just looked at Petra in the rocks, near Ma'an, may go back to Tammuz. Now remember, I said that the people, those that built Petra was who? What's the name of the people that built Petra? These were the Nabateans. It says, though its architecture has many features connecting it with Egyptian and Greco-Roman culture overlaying what it called by European writers Nabatean culture. Who were the Nabateans? They were an old Arab tribe which played a considerable part in history after they came into conflict with Antigonus the First in 312 BC. Their capital was Petra, but they extended their territory right up to the Euphrates. Euphrates is in Iraq. It says in 85 BC, they were lords of Damascus. Now remember, again, the Nabateans, these Nabateans, so Nabat or Nabate was the first son of Ishmael. Hold on one second more. Um, um, share my screen. So again, the Nabateans, these are the Tammud people. So these are the Tammudi right here that she's talking about. The Tammudi Akites or equestrians. So another thing about Arabs, right? Moors, Canaanites, Moabites, Israelites, is we were great archers. We were the best archers. We were the best. We had horsemen. So we was original cowboys, right? If you look up Arabian horses, they're the most fast, agile, and charismatic horses. And we what you call it when you like break a horse, like you know what I'm saying? We control them. And what made us really deadly once we came out of Arabia is that we would war against each other. Like so warfare was part of like what we did. Like, so that's really why the Arab Empire spread so fast. On top of the fact that, most of the people that they encountered when they was going into Persia, the Persian Empire and the Roman Empire, they was already encountering Arabs. They was already encountering Israelites, Moors, and they families. Did they war with them? Yeah, they win the war, but for the most part, everybody was like, all right, well, if this is what we doing in order to combat Rome, then it is what it is. So it says the Nabateans succeeded Tammuz of Arabian tradition. Tammuz are mentioned by name in the scriptures of Syrian king Sargon in 715 BC. So almost 1,000 years before Christ. We're talking about these people. And these people was, there's a connection with the Tammuz and I think the Nabateans and the Sabians. Then we got Jaksan, the Katan. They also are connected heavily with the Nabateans is connected heavily with the Ansar. Anybody know who the Ansar is? Anybody know who the Ansar? What's the Ansar?
No, not familiar, Sheik.
So the Ansar are listed in history and also in the Quran as, so if we go to 9:17. So if you go to Surah 9, Ayat 17, you got that more?
What is it again, Sheik?
It's Surah 9, verse 117 and 118. Ayat 117, 118.
Surah 9, Ayat 117, 119.
Well, really 117.
Okay. All right. Allah has certainly turned in mercy to the Prophet, as well as the immigrants and the helpers who stood by him in the time of hardship, after the hearts of a group of them had almost faltered. He then accepted their repentance. Surely he is ever gracious and most merciful to them.
Yeah, I think that's it.
When we keep going,
Nah, that's good right there.
Islam.
Thank you, Lord. So in your book, it says the immigrants and the helpers. So the immigrants are who they call the muhajirs. The muhajirs, right? And the helpers are the Ansar. So these Ansar are descendants of who? The Nabateans, right? And the Nabateans, again, are connected to these Arab, Canaanite peoples, right? Because hold on, let's see. Because they say in the southern Levant. So another good thing about Google or Wikipedia is that they give you these maps. And these maps, when you look at it, if we zoom in, look at, y'all see where it say Carthago Novo? Right here in the middle, where it say Mar Ibericum. It say Carthena, Caesarea, or Caesarea. And then if you go by Spain, right, so you go to Spain, you see it say Malacca, and then you go over to the right, it say Carthago Novo, or New Carthage. That's Cartagena. So even in Colombia, Cartagena is named after Carthage. Right? You got Mauritania, Tingitana, which was really Tangiers, which just translates to Tangier. So you say Mori, even they say Mar Ibericum. Look, Mare. Right? Gutili, Musalami. I think that's where they get the term Musulman. Musul, because you say Musulmi, Musul, they say Musulami, but you can say Musulmi, Musulmai, Musulmiya, Musulman, you know? Got the Garamantes. See, you say Carthago is right there on the tip of Tunisia, Tunis. Then they got Carthago Novo. So that just goes to show you that during this time, Spain was a province of Carthage. You got the Garamantes. And is this the one that shows Berber? No. No. So you see over here where it says Arabes Nabati. The Nabati is the Nabatean. And you see where Petra is, right? Judea. And then you got ammonium down here. That's the Ammonite territory. Because by then, these are Berbers is in here. The Garamantes, the Musalami, the Butili, the Mori. These are all Berbers. So again, these are the Nabateans. So look, it says, look what it say right here. So again, this is how we connected. Look, it says it was this king, Alexander Gennaeus, who, after putting down a local rebellion, invaded and occupied the Nabatean towns of Moab and Gilead. So these Nabateans was Moabites too. So really, like everything we dealing with when it comes to this whole genealogy thing is dealing with the Canaanites, the Moabites, the Midianites, and the Israelites. Those are the main names. So when y'all, if you really want to study this, those are the people you really want to study and follow, right? The Israelites, the Midianites, Kenites, Canaanites, Moabites on the biblical side. And then it's the Arab tradition, which is what I'm really like studying now, which ties into this whole thing. So again, Moab was in the Nabatean town. Right? I forgot what we was even on this page for. Anyway. Oh, I was looking for, what's the name again? Sophacian. But again, she's talking about here about the Saracens, right? And they're connected to the Talmudi, the Nabati. Like it says, by the start of the Christian era and up to the Middle Ages, the name of the Saracens were considered to have been derived from the name of Sarah, wife of Abraham. Thus, as late as the 14th century, the following was written of the Arabians, whatever that says, people that called themselves Saracens, as though they come of Sarah, written in 1387, right? It says the names of the Saracen Bedouin are also mentioned over 1,000 years before Marcellinus in the text of the Assyrian kings, who often fought with them and referred to them by such names as Kedar, Tamudi, Nabati, Masi, and Cushi. The Nabati, in particular, occupants of Petra and Jordan, were among those classified as Amaru or Amorites. Who was the Amorites? Who was the Amorites the son of? Who were the Amorites the sons of? Who was their father? Somebody give me Genesis 10 verse 15 through 16. Genesis 10, 15, 16. Slow.
Is uh Canaan was the father of Sidon, his firstborn, and of the Hittites, Jebusites,
Wait, who?
Amorites, Canaan. Canaan
Amor.
was the father.
Canaan.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So you see, again, these Nabateans is Canaanites. So when you read in history, you go over history, you see these names, you gotta understand they talking about you, boys. They talking about us. We all in this, everything. This we all in this history. We claim all this.
You know what? Not to cut you off,
No, go ahead.
but as soon as you started saying who was their father, the first thing popped in my head was Genesis. Let me start going to Genesis. But you already knew the chapter and the verse, so going to that I was able to pinpoint. But
Mm-hmm.
it's important because what I mentioned earlier is this is a birthright conversation.
Ah.
Everybody's having a birthright conversation. From the Hasidic Jews, Zionists, you got the Houthis, like
Yeah,
you
all
got every Arab, So again, modern Arab, but this is where we have the same conversation, and who is anybody in this world to deny that?
Mm-hmm.
And
And
unfortunately, go ahead, she.
you right. And the thing is, see, you will have those that will try to deny it, but as long as you or we can trace ourselves back, they got to fight. They got to fight the truth. Like you ain't fighting us, you fighting the truth. Because remember, even if they want to go with the slave narrative, that and I'm gonna get into this tomorrow on Sunday's call. We're gonna deal with the other side, the other line of Ali, right? But even if they want to go with the slave narrative, we could use Prophet Noble Drew Ali to trace right back. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna show you how to do that tomorrow. Trace right back to these same Moors that ruled in Morocco, that ruled in Spain, that trace all the way back to the time of Muhammad, before the time of Muhammad, to Jesus, to Solomon, to Abraham, and Moses, and Adam, and the beginning of the Bible. Who want what?
You know, because even the Jews today, their books are literally in the Bible. It's the same book. That's what
Yes.
the Torah is. So what are we
Yeah,
talking?
exactly.
That's why I said, like, what are we talking about? Like, nobody in this world can deny it. And even like, and I know you're gonna really cover the slavery piece tomorrow, but just think about it. Slavery. If you want to claim slavery, then who were you before you were enslaved? Then, right?
Right, exactly.
So
Exactly.
who were you? And if you're saying that you are from Africa, then okay, then let's talk about it. We talking about the same thing.
Right.
It had to
And
been a
you
war. Had to been several wars for that many people to be slaves. If
right,
that's so, if that's true, if the number is even true.
right. Which are, like you said, they're questionable. And you're right,
Yeah,
because you know, we we do agree with the slave narrative, because the prophet told us that we was enslaved for a certain time, from 1779 to 1865. And looking at the history, when you look at people like Abdul Rahman Ibrahim Sori, right, which is this individual, um, and even the sundry free Moors, we name free and sundry. The records on the books is that they was captured by Africans, by African king, while serving a country in Africa, and was sold over here. Now, whether they meant Africa over here or Africa over there, we could talk about. We could, that's up for discussion. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? Because we know, right, that certain. So even with this, we'll say Guinea, West Africa, but we know what Guinea, West Africa is. But this dude right here, he, if you look at his picture, this is from the engraving by Thomas Illman after a drawing by Henry Einman. So Henry Einman drew this, and he said facsimile of the Moorish prince, or the Moorish prince's writing. So he's a Moorish prince. He was considered a Moorish prince. This individual, and
Uh, I never seen that. I never saw that at the bottom of the picture. But man, detail is important.
Islamism, yeah,
It's literally right there, Moorish. Yeah,
Moorish prince.
Moorish Prince. That is crazy. It's a wrap. It is a
it's a
wrap.
it's a wrap. He says he was a Fula prince and emir from the Futa Jalon region of Guinea, West Africa. So now this another one to the whole Moorish conversation about Morocco, because this he wasn't even from Morocco. He was from Guinea, but he was still considered a Moorish prince, because Guinea was part of the Moorish Empire during that time. Right? So he was captured and sold to slave traders and transported to the United States in 1788. Upon discovering his lineage as enslavers, Thomas Foster began referring to him as Prince, a title used for Abdul Rahman in his final days. After spending 40 years in slavery, he was freed in 1828 and returned to Africa the following year, but died in Liberia within months of his arrival. Right? So, and talk about his whole situation. And they call him a Bambara. Right? The Bambara is really another word for barber or Berber. Right? They don't really get into much, but again, they say Noble Drew Ali looked like a Bambara. I was watching a video of his name is Umar Farouk. Let me see if I can find him real quick.
You notice they said that he was from a region in Guinea, which is West Africa, and that's dealing with like the Malian empires.
very
Yes,
peaceful,
exactly. He was from Mali.
very calm. And I will ask people, because I'm only there
Wait, can you hear that?
Yeah, I get it.
All right, hold up. Let's see.
at certain times of
Let's see what he mentioned. Let me do it. He's like Moorish Science Temple. Udra Ali, peace and blessings. He said, well, may Allah have mercy on him.
day. And he says at the end, look, these are clay statues from ancient America.
Now, this is something good to watch because he's making a connection between the Canaanites and Moors of West Africa to America before Columbus. He's using the term Muslims though. So he say we and Muslims, but he's talking about African people. He says that though. He says these were African people. And he say like y'all need to go over there and see your family.
We call them technically terracottas, burned clay. These are figurines, statuettes that were made in old ancient Mexico around 1300 and let's say 20. Around that period, the same exact period that the fleet was sent out. Okay?
The fleet he talking about is Abu Bakr II. And oh man, do I have
What was his relation to Mansa Musa? That's his like nephew.
yeah. This
Or
was
was it his son?
his older brother.
Older brother. Okay, yeah.
So it says, oh, Al-Umari. All right, so look, it says in 324, while staying in Cairo during his Hajj, Mansa Musa, the ruler of Mali, told an Egyptian official whom he had befriended that he had come to rule when his predecessor led a large fleet in an attempt to cross the Atlantic Ocean and never returned. This account recorded by the Arab historian Al-Umari. So this
Mm,
account is recorded.
mm.
So, yo, I'm telling you, Moors, this is, you know what I'm saying? We got the references. Like, let me see if I can find
I mean, like
Umari's account.
if you just think about it geologically, just pull up a map and just look at the Atlantic Ocean, and then look at the eastern coast of North America. Like, why wouldn't anybody ever get the chance to do that, or why would I deny an ancient ancestor that probably know a lot more than we did? It's ignorance, man. They try to say we're less barbaric than what we were in ancient times, but today there are over 20 something thousand Palestinian children is dead.
Oh, this is the account. It says Al Umari's record of this conversation is the only account of this voyage, as it is not mentioned by other medieval Arab historians or West African oral tradition. Nonetheless, the possibility of such a voyage has been taken seriously by several historians. So these are some Gomez. Who is this Gomez? Go ahead. Devise. So these are like references that they be having. African. That's probably referenced in here. Yeah, Michael Gomez about the song the American Historical Review Roundtable, American Historical. So this is highly peer reviewed probably. Robbing Native Americans culture. Oh, Van Sertima. They criticize Van Sertima. Negro land of the Arabs examined. But this is an account of what Al-Umari said happened, right? It says that Mansa stayed in Cairo for 3 months in 324 for Hajj, befriended an emir, Abu Hijab, Hajibs, who was the governor and district of Cairo Musa was staying in. And Hajib later recounted to the scholar Al-Umari what he had learned from or of Mali from conversations with Musa. In one such conversation, Ibn Hajib had asked Musa how he had become king, and Musa responded, "We belong to a house which hands on the kingship by inheritance. The king who has," and that's an Arab Hebrew thing, who was my predecessor, did not believe that it was impossible to discover the furthest limit of the Atlantic Ocean, and wished vehemently to do so. So he equipped 200 ships filled with men, and the same number equipped with gold, water, and provisions, enough to last them for years. So he sent out 400 ships to last for a couple years. Now remember, I gave y'all the, well, I don't know if I did it on here, but I think I did. I gave y'all the biblical reference for how long it takes to sail around the world in the time of Solomon. Said his ships, Hiram, king of Tyre, and Hiram, and well, it was his ships, King Solomon, and Hiram, and somebody else's ships, I think. That, but it took 3 years for them to come back with everything. So even here it's saying that he took 200 ships filled with men and the same number filled with gold, water, and provisions. So that's 400, enough to last them years. So either 2 or more years. So they expected to at least come back around, like, or hit something after like half that time. You know what I'm saying? Like, so he says, and said to the men deputed to lead them, "Do not return until you reach the end of it, or your provisions and water give out." They departed, and a long time passed by or passed before anyone came back. Then one ship returned and was asked the captain what news they brought. He said, "Yes, O Sultan, we traveled for a long time until there appeared in the open sea, as it were, a river with a powerful current. Mine was the last of those ships. The other ships went on ahead, but when they reached that place, they did not return, and no more was seen of them, and we do not know what became of them. As for me, I went about at once and did not enter that river." But the Sultan disbelieved him. Then the Sultan got ready 2,000 ships, 1,000 for himself and the men whom he took with him, and 1,000 for water and provisions. He left me to deputize for him and embarked on the Atlantic Ocean with his men. That was the last we saw of him and all those that were with him. And so I became king in my own right.
Dang.
So when they say, or when you know, if you want to argue the point that we traveled over here and it's recorded in historical, it's a historical record of it. You know, you got the reference Al-Umari. Al-Umari was told by Ibn Hajiz, that was a governor in Egypt in Cairo in 324 AD, that Mansa Musa told him that his brother sent out 400 ships, only one came back, and he took 2,000 ships. So 2,500 ships, 2,400 ships. And they didn't take women with them. It was warriors. Like they was ready to, settle down. And wherever they settled, if there was women there, you know what was happening. And we did this on the east and the western coast. So we did this. So we talk about India, China, as far the far east. We went that far. We talk about the far west. We came this far.
And this man here, you can tell what he is. First of all, he's wearing compound earrings. And compound earrings were worn by the Mandinka and the Bambara, and probably other tribes as well.
But wait, you heard him right? The Bambara. Remember, Bambara is connected to the word Berber.
So he's got compound earrings.
And if these are the warriors from Mali then these are probably some of the Tuareg Almoravid Moors.
He's also got a Mandinka helmet. He's also got other marks, and when I showed this to some of my beloved brothers, and
because you got to understand, like, when, you know, the prophet said, you know, we descendants of the Canaanites, so, like, as Canaanites, we didn't really mark our faces. Like, we didn't put gashes in our face and stuff like that. You know, so, you know, there, remember I told y'all there was two waves of Berbers that came. You know, we was more part of the second wave of the Berbers that came in under the Canaanites. So these was different. These are different Moors. Like, and you will find out that the Tuareg Moors, they was considered Amorites too. But see, I'm trying to get this down pat because Sister Dana, she really breaks this down and draws the distinction very clearly. But you know, there is a little bit of a distinction between the Tuareg, who, you know, they was part of that Almohad. I think they was part of like the Almohad, or either it was the Almohad and the Almoravid, because they was like the different. They was part of like the Masmudas. So the Masmudas was the Almohad, and the Almoravid was the Sanhaja. There might have been some other ones too, but these were. I don't. Well, I can't even say that because because so they was part of like the Amazigs, Tuaregs. These was like Ethiopians or Abyssinians, but that's, you know, and that's Kush. But they was they considered Sabians? They might have been considered Sabians. I gotta figure out that bloodline. But
Gambia, they said, Donso. Donso. He's a hunter. This is a hunter. Okay, now what does that mean? What does that mean? The hunter, Donso, is a special person. Because not just that he's a hunter, but that he has gifts, like some hunters have. That the Donso can take you into the jungle and bring you out alive. The Donso knows where the snakes are and what kind of snakes they are. This brother's a hunter, I know that. And he can tell you about this. You have a sense. The Donso also knows, should you go by land or should you go by sea? The Donso also knows where the lion is, and where the leopard is, and where the baboons are. He knows that. So the Donso is very important. And this statuette shows that this Mandinka Donso, he was probably one of the leaders. We don't know his name, but he was probably one of the leaders. And you can go to villages this day in Senegal and the Gambia and in Mali where Donsos can produce this same kind of dress. They do that they have certain festivals where they will do that. So this is really important. And who is this beautiful man right here? Do you doubt that he's a Muslim? Do you doubt he's got a turban on? That's a Bambara. That's a Bambara. If you ever saw a Bambara, that's a Bambara. I showed a picture to this wonderful woman who...
listen carefully, Moors. Listen carefully.
knows the tribal marks of Africans. I showed her a picture of Noble Drew Ali. Some of you know who Noble Drew Ali was. May Allah have mercy on him. Moorish Science Temple. She said, Bambara. That's the first thing she said. Bambara. That's a Bambara. Okay, this man's also a Bambara. And
Y'all heard that?
Islamism.
Islamism. So again, Africa was named after Ophrin, who was a Midianite. right? From Keturah and Abraham. This is where Africa. So the inhabitants of Africa come from his line. Remember, they helped Hercules. His grandchildren inhabited it. Blah 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 blah. So these are Midianites. Now the Moabites tie into the Midianites through the Kenite line, because in the Bible you don't find the children of Moab. There's no mention of. They just call Moabites anytime they come up in the Bible. Like Ruth is just she's not a child. She's not. There's no lineage after Moab. Now I think I have found somewhere where I did find the lineage of Moab, and it may be in the book of Jasher, because the book of Jasher has a lot of the names that's not in the actual Bible. But the Moabites tie into the Kenites. And the Midianites. So we all know about Ruth, right? The story of Ruth, Boaz, because that's the Israelites, Islam. Because when it comes to the Moabites, you gotta go beyond the Moabites, like and then the prophet also said we the ancient Moabites. So now you're dealing with Lot and his father, who was Haram. I think it was Haran. No, Lot's father was Nahor. Wait, hold up. See, I ain't finished. I didn't finish the Moabite lineage. Hold up, y'all. Haran. Okay. We not done with this. Cause remember, he's saying that we descendants of the ancient Moabites. So these are the Moabites. These are the. You could look at it like the Moabites before, or the line that was before the Moabites. And remember, Lot was Abraham's nephew, so his father was Abraham's brother. So we tie into the Abrahamic side that way through Abraham's direct brother, but then we also have the Abraham's children, specifically through Ruth. So later on down the line, Ruth tied in to the Abrahamic side. She tied back into the Abrahamic side, right? So, but I didn't do the lineage to Haran. And he may not go that far back, or he may not have had other children. But anyways, so like I said, the Moabites, they tie in through Ruth on the Israelite side, so the tribe of Judah. Now hold on, because I do got something, because there's some deep details about the Moabites, because the Moabites are connected to lions. So when you hear about like lions, when you see depictions of lions, because the Moabites were very fierce warrior people. They was described as lion-like in the Bible. I'm about to give y'all. And the word lion in Hebrew is Ariel. Islam. The word lion in Hebrew is Ariel, like under the sea. Yeah. The Moabites is also connected to the Banu Hamida, or Humaida. I think that's also a Hamdan. I can't but Where is this at? Oh yeah. Okay. So the Moabites. This a okay. Hold on. Let me see where I was going with this. I don't think I put that in here about. Oh, it is in here about the lion. Oh, is it? Oh yeah, it is. All right. All right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So the Moabite connection. The Moabite connection is crazy. Like I'm not even gonna lie. I didn't get into Lot's father though. I'm gonna get into Lot's father. So the Moabites is actually described as Arabs in the Bible. Islam. So again, this another, the prophet did say, we the Moors who were ancient Moabites, and he talked about being the founders of the holy city of Mecca. That's the Hijaz, right? And again, the Hijaz is occupied by Canaanites. That's the land of Canaan. But the Moabites in the Bible was described as Arabs in Nehemiah chapter 4, verse 1. Islam, what you got? You got that one? Nehemiah 4:1. Is it Nehemiah 4:1?
Islam, I'm working on it.
All right. Mm, oh,
I'm just having trouble finding that book, but I saw it, but I missed it. It's probably a short book.
yeah, it is a short one. It's after Ezra. Ezra short too. Esther short too. Hold on. I don't even know if that's the first I'm looking for. I need this reference. Man. Let me see. I can find it online. But this what I really want. I couldn't find this in my notes. This what I really wanted to get to about the Moabites. I got some references in there. Moabites. This as Nehemiah. Look at Nehemiah. Oh, okay, Nehemiah
You said
13.
4:1, Nehemiah 4:1.
Nah, give me yeah, read it real quick, but I don't think that's the one though. But read it for me.
All right. For opposition to the rebuilding, when Sambalat heard that we were rebuilding the wall, he became angry and he was greatly incensed. He ridiculed the Jews in the presence of his associates in the army of Samaria. He said, "What are those feeble Jews doing? Will they restore their wall? Will they offer sacrifices? Will they finish in a day? Can they bring the stones back to life from those heaps of rubble, burned as they are?"
Hmm, Wait, oh no, you know what? It's the Nehemiah 4:7.
4:7. But when Sabalat Tobiah, the Arabs, the Ammonites, and the men of Ashdod heard that the repairs of Jerusalem walls had gone ahead, and that the gaps were being closed, they were very angry.